Hello, everyone. My name is Luis Lanca. I am the program leader for Diagnostic Radiography here in SIT. Today, in this presentation, I will be sharing with you about the Diagnostic Radiography program and about what is the day in the life of a radiographer. First of all, I would like to warmly welcome you all to SIT on behalf of our faculty. These are the people that work with us. They are very well-trained radiographers. They are people that facilitate your training and teach our students to become radiographers in the future. In this presentation, I will be presenting about the features of the Diagnostic Radiography BSc program. I think it's important to say that the DR program is a program that has been accredited by the Allied Health Profession Council in Singapore. This is a 4-year degree, 240 credits, direct honors program, and with this program we prepare you to become a diagnostic radiographer by training, and you can work on that profession after you qualify in this program. This is a unique program among autonomous universities in Singapore, and the curriculum is developed in close consultation with the industry to ensure relevance and graduates' employability. So before I start, I think it's important to address about radiography. So what is radiography about? Radiography involves the controlled use of ionizing radiation, radioactive substances, and non-ionizing radiation as well, to produce diagnostic quality images of the human body, facilitating the diagnosis and treatment of patients. Okay, so this is broadly speaking, the areas where the radiographers will be working. Of course, the radiographer is working in a healthcare institution, so the radiographer will be working with very sophisticated equipment, and also, of course, the patients, which is the most important in our work. Just to give you some examples about what is a day in the life of a radiographer. So many of the radiological procedures nowadays are still based on the practice of general radiography. Maybe 60 to 70% of the procedures in hospitals are still plain radiography or general radiography. This is just an example of a radiographer positioning a patient to take a chest radiography. And you can see the chest X-ray here on the screen. So this is the outcome of this positioning. This might seem very simple, but it's a bit, so the technique has to be developed. So the radiographers really need to know what they are doing. So they need to develop their skill while they are in training. So that's what we do in our program. But general radiography is not the only modality that the students learn. So the students will be prepared to work with a broad range of technology, and we will be providing them the necessary knowledge to do that work in the clinical environment. Another example of an imaging modality that the students will learn is computed tomography or CT scans. These are very sophisticated machines nowadays. We can take CT scans from different parts of the body. The pictures here, they just illustrate some examples, like, for example, a chest CT scan, but also, which is quite challenging, the cardiac CT scan. We need images of the heart. They are in a still position, okay, but the heart is always beating, so we have a technique that we use to obtain clear pictures of the heart and to detect the diseases of the heart. This is just an example of application where what CT scan can do. There are other modalities, for example, magnetic resonance imaging or MRI. For MRI scans, we also can take MRI scans from different parts of the body. We just provide here some examples of the brain scan, of the spine scan. So images will look like this, very much in detail. in terms of the anatomy and in terms of what can be seen here. The students need to be prepared to take these scans, so they need to operate these very much sophisticated machines, but also they need to understand the necessary anatomy and understand what they can see when they do the procedures to obtain the images from the different parts of the body. Ultrasound is another modality that our students will learn. So by using this equipment that is using ultrasound, we can obtain images of the human body. In the image that you can see here, we can see a small portion of the right kidney, and this is how the images will look like in an ultrasound or in a sonography scan. So these are some of the modalities where our students will be trained, and these are some of the modalities where our trained students will be working in the future when they become professional radiographers. There are many other areas where they can work, for example, breast imaging. In this example, you can see here images from the women's breast in a mammography picture that you can see on the right. This is a very common modality for detecting breast diseases. Okay, so in the circle you can see an image that corresponds to a cancer of the breast. So this is a very good modality for making the early detection of breast cancer in women. So the women can be treated successfully in a very early stage. Another modality we use is the bone mineral density scan. So this is to measure the density of the bones and to provide a quantitative measurement of the risk of fractures, for example. Okay, so these are some more examples of the technology that we use in the hospitals, in the clinics, where the radiographers can work. Another example is the fluoroscopy. The fluoroscopy, in this case, you can see a barium meal procedure where the patient will need to swallow a contrast media that is made of barium, and then we can make images. We can make live images or like this, as you can see here, while the patient is swallowing the contrast. Okay, to see what are the problems that the patient is facing. Another example where you work with the other professionals as well, like cardiologists, like interventional radiologists, is the interventional radiology and cardiology. So for these procedures, basically, we use very special equipments, the C-arms or the image intensifiers, where we can assess the vessels, the arteries, for example, by using a special technique to fill inside the vessels and to obtain the necessary images from that vessel. In the two examples that you can see here, you can see the vessels for the left kidney, and also you can see the carotid artery, the internal carotid artery that will go to the brain of the patient. So these are very, very common procedures that need to be used in a very specific patient condition, and radiographers are also trained to be part of a healthcare team to work on these fields. Okay, so as University of Applied Learning, SIT, we want to bridge the academic knowledge and skills with real-world applications in industry. So we are talking about healthcare industry, we are talking about healthcare institutions where our students will be working in the future. So we are very concerned on this because we want our program to be relevant to the industry. We want our students to be ready to start working upon graduation. So in our program, we do an integration of the classroom with the industry as an effective scaffold to learning. Okay, so for us, it's very important for students to have the knowledge, to have the attitudes and the skills to be radiographers. But this is something that needs to be developed in the context of work, not just inside the university. So that's where, as the University of Applied Learning, we have our role, is that we need to make the necessary links with the professional work with industry and relevant industry application. The question is, and as a program director, I'm always thinking about this. This is a challenge. How can we better prepare our graduates to be industry ready? Especially in a field of healthcare that many changes are happening all the time. So we need to prepare our students for the time they graduate, but we also need to better prepare them for the future and for the technology that will come in 10 years' time, 20 years' time. So basically, we develop our program to facilitate the learning by reflection. So we want the students to develop self-learning and problem-solving skills, and we want to engage the students in a continuous development process. We want our students to learn by doing, okay? They need to learn under supervision with a progressive achievement of capacity and performance autonomy. As we are working in an industry that will need to provide a very close collaboration between the radiographers, but also other healthcare professionals, right, like medical doctors, radiologists, nurses, etc. We want the students to learn from others by integrating a multidisciplinary healthcare team. So this is basically our strategy to make our program relevant to the industry. Our curriculum is a 4-year program and has a structure that is based on 3 major pillars. So the modules that we are offering in our program, they cover parts of health and behavioral sciences. So this is related with broad knowledge in health and behavioral sciences, including anatomy, physiology, patient care and safety, psychology, health systems, professionalism, interprofessional education, and change management. The other aspect of our program is about radiologic science and technology. So we want our students to learn about the professional knowledge in radiological science and technology, including radiation physics, radiobiology, radiation protection, radiological anatomy, radiological informatics, medical imaging technology and processing. And of course, we are preparing our students to become radiographers, professional radiographers. We have modules that are more oriented for radiography practice. Professional knowledge in different areas of radiography practice include general radiography, fluoroscopy, angiography, CT, MRI, ultrasound. I mean, I think I have already covered all of these modalities in my presentation previously. It's also important to state that the students will be asked to develop a honors thesis by the end of their program to emphasize the scientific inquiry and evidence-informed radiography practice. This is how our curriculum is organized. So we have 4 years of studies, as you can see. In each trimester, we have academic modules. Some of the trimesters, they are just focused on academic modules. But in some trimesters, we have a combination of academic modules and clinical modules, which means that the students, during the clinical modules that are highlighted in red in this slide, they will go for the hospitals for a period of, let's say, 6 weeks. And during that time, they will be applying what they have learned in the academic modules at the university previously. So all this academic curriculum, all this structure of the curriculum in SIT will provide the necessary development of the students since their year 1 up to year 4 when they graduate. In our curriculum, we believe that is very, very much important to have a very strong relationship with the industry. This is important because with the industry, we can make the program relevant to them. So our curriculum, our faculty, our facilities, it's of course part of the requirements that we have, but also we work with our partners from all the major clusters of healthcare here in Singapore. So this allows the students to go for their clinical placements at the public hospitals, but also some private hospitals, and also other partners, like, for example, medical equipment industry. Okay, so with this, I think we can be ready to for the challenges that our graduates can face in the future. So we want to prepare our students for the future, and we want to prepare them for the challenges that will come. For example, innovation and change in healthcare. So we need the students to be very quick, adaptable to what can happen anytime. And I think that we have experienced this situation very recently with the COVID situation, where all the safety measures have changed very rapidly. So we had to make the necessary adaptations, and of course we had to introduce the necessary changes to prepare our students to better work in the healthcare teams. For example, work organization trends. This is changing all the time. The future will have more artificial intelligence tools. So many people are concerned about this. I mean, these are tools that are very important for students to support it, for radiographers or for healthcare professionals to support their decisions in the future. So AI definitely will be something that we need to prepare our students to work with. Also, accountability and professional autonomy. So we want them to be professional autonomous and responsible for their actions as allied health professionals. There is also a continuous improvement of quality in healthcare, like change management. But I think this part is something that we always bring up into the student attention, that is the humanization of patient care. I mean, those who want to join the healthcare workforce, they really need to think on the patient. We are using the technology to provide care to the patient. So it's not just about technology. Technology is needed to provide the necessary diagnostic for the patient, but the patient is a person, and every patient is a very single person with their single needs. So we have to prepare the students to deal with this, keeping the patient in the center of the care. So in our innovative curriculum and pedagogy, we have some priorities. So these are just examples and some photos that we have taken in our small group work with our students. Actually, these photos have been taken in one of our industry partners, where the students can practice with real equipment and make the necessary training for learning all the procedures in radiography. So our pedagogy is team-based learning. Of course, we need to keep, currently we need to keep the social distancing, and also don't forget to keep and remain student-centric. We want the students to have a hands-on experience. We also want the students to have a clinical placement experience, an applied research experience. So this is all inside the curriculum. And of course, to achieve all of this, we believe that the use of technology is extremely important as a support for a better learning experience. Just to illustrate what we do in our team-based learning, I mean, depending on the modules that we have, some of the pictures that are taken here, they were taken before COVID, so that's why you see so many crowds. We are taking some more necessary measures now to decrease the number of students per group. As you can see in the images on the left in the SIT VR lab, so we have a virtual reality system that students will use to practice the general radiography, for example. So they will be working in small teams, and by using these virtual reality tools, this is a very interesting tool that the students can use. So they can do it from at the lab, so they can work in a small group, in a team-based learning, but they also can do this from home, because this application will run in a platform that is available from home as well. So we use these tools to improve the student learning by offering them experience in a virtual reality X-ray training simulation. So this is an immersive simulation that really provides a realistic environment inside the virtual reality room, like if they were in a hospital or clinic. So with these tools, the students can really practice in a very realistic scenario. This is another example of some team-based learning practical sessions that the students will undertake in SIT. This is an example for ultrasound, the sonography lab. Of course, by working with our external partners, we provide the students the hands-on experience that they need. And they will have this hands-on experience using state-of-the-art medical imaging clinical equipment that will allow them to develop a reflective practice, which we believe is very important for the profession, and to learn what they do and why they do such kind of procedures. So in these photos, you can see that the students are practicing the positioning. So actually, they don't have a real patient. So the patient is what we call a phantom. So they can use these phantoms because they look like human, and they can make pictures or radiographs of these simulated patients very safely and learn how to do it properly. So when they go for the hospitals, when they go to interact with real patients, they have already experienced these learning experiences in a very controlled scenario. Also, we provide some other experiences with our students, like simulation, and they usually work in small groups, so they do simulation with their colleagues, with their peers. Of course, we are not doing any radiographs with the students, but just making the necessary positioning for them to learn how they can experience in a person. Also, we have other collaborations for other models. For example, in this example, for anatomy and physiology in year 1. So the students will learn anatomy in NUS, which is the example here. So they will interact with what we call the silent mentors. The silent mentors are cadavers, people that have donated their bodies for science, for the healthcare professionals to learn and the students to learn. So we are very happy with this collaboration because the students can really learn from the real anatomy in the cadavers. So thank you for the silent mentors. Thanks to the silent mentors that have donated their bodies and making this possible. And this is very important for students from year 1 to start developing the respect, the ethics. That's the values that we want them to develop while being trained to be healthcare professionals. Okay, so in SIT, we have recently made some necessary adjustments just to ensure that we are safe everywhere. So as a university, we took a university approach. So usually the big classes will be offered online, but we still have some small groups of students that can do their hands-on, their face-to-face learning, such as in laboratory sessions that are very important, that the students can still learn by doing. That's one of our major pillars. We want to ensure that learning outcomes were uncompromised. So all the changes we did, they were made with this statement in our head. So we don't want to compromise any of our learning outcomes. So the students, when they graduate, they still have the necessary competencies they need to be healthcare professionals. And of course, remaining student-centric. I think I have said something about this. As we want them to the training to be realistic and relevant to the industry, we still are working with our clinical partners and with MOH as well to offer the possibility to students to go for their clinical placements, for their training in hospitals. Of course, this needs to be done with the strict compliance of healthcare institution and SIT policies in terms of safety of the students and also the safety for all the teams. So we are very much focused on the compliance to the infection control practices. And with our experience so far, all the students were able to comply with this. So we are very happy because we put in place a lot of measures that the students are really doing it very responsibly. The same applies to research, so we also have some restrictions. Of course, basically what we want is that the students can still continue doing their honors thesis projects by working with the teams where they are allocated, but in a safely manner. These are some examples of the applied research that we have. These are some of the photos that I took in one of our partners, industry partners here in Singapore. So this is, for example, some projects where we are using AI for detecting lesions in the chest. So these are some of the possible projects that we are undertaking and doing with our students. We believe that it's very important for students to be exposed to international experiences. Of course, during normal times, we have the Overseas Experience Program where students can go out, they can go to other countries, they can have their experiences there. Currently, we are still conducting some overseas experience program, but using Zoom. But still, I think it's very relevant for students to engage and to learn and to work with other colleagues, with our other student radiographers from other countries in the world. So this is just an example of students that when they went to China, we also have received students from South Korea visiting us a few last year, I think. Okay, so beyond the scope of the school and the academic work that the students have to do, we also have other activities, like, for example, celebrating the World Radiography Day every year, 8th of November. During the placements, the students, they can take these pictures. They celebrate the day when they are on placement, as you can see in the photos, but we also organize some events here in SIT. This year we have organized the World Radiography 2020 on Zoom because it's what can be done right now, but definitely we were able to celebrate the 125th anniversary since the discovery of X-rays by Röntgen, which is the medical physicist that discovered X-rays back in 1895. And basically, we have radiographers because X-rays have been discovered by this medical physicist a long time ago. And I think this is my last slide. Okay, I think this is my last slide. This is a small number of photos that we have from our first cohort of students that have graduated back in 2020. Actually, 2020 has been a very special year for everyone, but I can imagine how it is to be a fresh graduate, start working in the middle of a pandemic like COVID. So we are very proud in SIT because we were able to provide the necessary training to our students. And when they graduated in May 2020, they were able to join the healthcare workforce and work in help to fight COVID so successfully. So we are very proud of that. And also we are very proud because we work with a very exciting and committed industry here in Singapore that is helping our students to really progress in their studies and learn how to become competent radiographers. I think this is my last slide. Thank you very much for attending this session. See you. Bye-bye.